Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ruddle Me This. I am your host, Taylor Ruddle. Today's guest is a very, very funny young man and a good friend of mine, Danny Sewell. Danny Sewell is a stand-up comedian and a world traveller. He is currently based in Melbourne, where he runs a show called Theory Comedy. And he and I, as well as Finn McLaughlin, used to work for about half a year on the satirical news Instagram account, The Lamington. Go and check that out right now, if you please. But that's not actually the topic we're going to talk about with Danny on this episode. I put a post out on my Facebook page asking for comedians or other creatives to contact me with interesting or niche interests of theirs that we could talk about on the podcast. And Danny suggested we could talk about why New Zealand has an unmatched or unparalleled potato chip game. And given that Danny is a little bit of a jokester, I actually thought he was joking in the beginning, but when I asked him about this, it turned out he was dead serious. Now, this was a little bit surprising to me, given that I've lived in Japan, and I've often heard that Japanese chips were the king of the world in terms of flavor variety and all that kind of thing. So I brought Danny on the podcast to get to the bottom of this, and as we found out very early on in the podcast, Danny actually really knows what he's talking about. He's very well travelled, and he has, let's say, he's done the research in his particular field. It was an absolutely delightful conversation. I enjoyed it a lot, and it has definitely changed the way that I look at potato chips here in New Zealand. So with that, let's roll the interview. Please welcome to the show, Danny Sewell. Hello, Danny. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me again.
You're very welcome. Today we're discussing a very patriotic, scientific theory that you have that I believe the world needs to know about, and I believe it could change the fabric of snacking worldwide. Do you want to tell us you made a very brave claim to me that immediately had me hooked. What was your theorem?
Oh, just that New Zealand has the best potato chips, or if you're from a worse part of the world, crisps, than anywhere else. I reckon we've got the best chips.
Yeah, translating it for the layman there.
Although to be fair to the Poms, as my grandma calls them, and I think we should bring that back. That's so funny. Poms, calling them Poms. Anyway, they do have one brand of chip in particular that I think slaps.
Okay, so let's how long have you been aware that New Zealand has had such a chip game? Because you're a pretty well-traveled gentleman. What countries have you been to that you found lacking?
Okay, so I have been to 48 countries.
Wow.
48 countries and 6 continents, but I've seen the 7th, Antarctica, from a plane window.
Nice.
When you fly from Australia to South Africa, you can look out at global warming happening in real time. Is what you can see. Yeah, a couple of polar bears struggling and shit.
Yeah, you go past the second time and you're like, I thought it was a lot bigger last time. What happened?
Yeah, it was a lot bigger last time.
Man, it's not as impressive as I remember.
Yeah.
How have you managed to accomplish such travel in your relatively few years on this planet?
Pretty much everything that I save, I use on it.
Wow.
I don't know, just like it. I just love it.
You just into travel.
Aside from stand up, oh yeah, I love it so much.
Wow.
I did an exchange to Peru when I was 16, and then was like pretty hooked from there. Did a gap year living in the UK, and then just used that as a base to travel around Europe and stuff.
Wow.
Spent my student loan on going to South Africa. That's cool. Yeah. Shot Jacinda. Thank you.
The IID's
for the money.
Furiously typing.
Really shot. Yeah, literally. But big ups to Jacinda. They have like this program where they send university students, like all expenses paid, to like India to like establish like connections and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I think
went
that's
to
cool.
India for a month. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of travel, experiencing a lot of different chip cultures. So I think I'm like pretty well accredited. I also pretty much eat a share bag of chips every day. That's my vice. And before you like judge me, I don't like smoke ciggies, I don't drink that much, I think potato chips is a fine vice.
There are certainly much worse vices for one to have out in the world, eh?
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
there's a
that's
history of heart problems in my family, so there's a lot to live up to. I got to work hard to
you,
maintain that legacy.
you come from a long line of chip eaters. Your dad and his father
Yeah,
before
yeah,
him,
yeah.
and his father
Long line
before
of
him.
heart attacks. Yeah. Actually, a flat line of heart attacks. To say so
Excellent.
myself.
So, I guess my question is, at what point did you start? Like, did you go to a couple countries and you think like, oh man, there's like, specifically this country is lacking in their chip game, and then after about three or four, you're like, god damn, like everybody's sleeping on potato chips.
Yeah, I think I don't know why we do it here. Maybe it's because in New Zealand, at least like Pākehā, New Zealand, we don't have that much of like a strong food culture.
Yeah, it's not a
So
strong palate, eh?
yeah, exactly. Like, Spain is like fucking around with, other random shit. Asia's fucking around with different stuff. I don't know why, but for some reason, maybe do we like grow potatoes well in New Zealand or something?
I would
Um,
assume we do. Wasn't there that company called McCain who used to always talk about like locally grown potatoes? I don't know if they're a New
True.
Zealand
Yeah.
company. That might have been like a British one, and they
Oh,
just did
yeah,
New
yeah.
Zealand ads for it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but for some reason we've just got like a real strong potato chip game. Also,
Mm.
like big props to like kumara chips and like sweet potato chips. Like we're able to smash that pretty well.
Yeah, I would say we probably can, because now that you said kumara, I realized, oh yeah, like that's a huge thing in like traditional Maori culture. So like we must be able to grow
Yep.
uh, what are they, vegetables? Yeah, root vegetables in this country.
Yeah, true.
Um, so I guess let's get into some of your thoughts about like we could talk about the bottom of the table. We could do a tier list
Okay.
of potato
Look,
chips.
but that's the thing with New Zealand chips, like even the bottom tier chips, like I will still thoroughly enjoy eating, like I
Yeah,
may not actively purchase them for myself, but usually these chips pop up in the kind of like uh bowl at, a 5-year-old birth.
yeah,
I go to a
yeah.
lot of 5-year-old birthday parties, Taylor. It's not a creepy thing. It's not a creepy thing. I just love laser tag.
It's
And
purely a professional thing. They need an
yeah,
MC
yeah,
with a
it's
kind
really
of
professional. I love like stomping on little kids playing laser tag, and also the finger food at like 5-year-old birthday parties. Like, dope. Why don't we bring that back for adulthood? Like, what are those hundreds of
oh,
thousands like
fairy bread. Yeah, yeah.
fairy bread, pretty cool. Cheerio sausages. There was
With the
always that
red
one
skin.
weird kid that would peel the red skin off and
Yeah,
not eat it. That
yeah,
guy
yeah,
definitely currently has a Netflix documentary being made about him.
yeah.
But like on the bottom tier, so 5-year-old birthday party chips, you've kind of got like, I'd say your lower end bluebird chips, like your twisties, your rations, your cheezels. Not a
Let's
massive fan of those ones.
for the
I put them in the same
international
category. I think those are the three horsemen of the chip apocalypse. Those ones, they're kind of like
for
linked
the
together.
international listeners, Bluebird chips are your pretty standard crinkle cut potato chips, aren't they? And if they're
Yeah.
in the bottom tier, I'd have to agree that our chip game is pretty strong, because every now and then I'll get a craving for those chicken ones, the yellow packet. And
Oh, bro, like, man, honestly, so many thoughts. I know people, apparently, I went to the UK and they don't really do like the sea salt chip. You
in
know
the
what I mean?
UK,
Like the stock standard chip. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Like a comedian friend of ours, Shannon Basso Gall, he like that was his favorite thing. One of his favorite things about New Zealand was these like red packet bluebird chips.
oh yeah, yeah, okay.
Amazing. But
So
yeah, like the good thing though about the Cheezels, Twisties, and rations, I know there are people that like love one of those specifically, but there's no one that really loves like all of those ones. Actually, I'll chuck burger rings in there too. Um, a few thoughts about those. Kind of wasn't that bothered when they changed the flavoring. Like a year ago, two
mm,
years ago, they kind of changed the
yeah, yeah, I
flavoring.
remember
I
that.
wasn't that bothered by it. I thought it was okay. They made the cheezels smaller, but that's okay too because I can still fit them on my little fingers, which is me. That's how
That's
that's
the
how you're
classic
supposed to
move.
eat cheezels. Taylor. You got to put them 10 on all fingers and then eat
I
them
had
one by
forgotten
one.
about that, but you're right. And so we'll just interject quickly there because you can feel the passion in Danny's voice, and I'm just trying to
I
trying to
love them.
universalize a little bit. So those chips are, what are they made of? They're crushed up something and then sort of reformed. They're a bit like, I guess, for American listeners, it would be like Cheetos, except I've had Cheetos and they're way harder than those ones
Yeah,
we listed.
American chips are kind of they go like Americans do with everything. They go a bit too hard in the paint, like they just kind of like need to tone it down slightly and then
Right.
they'll nail it. I think in terms of options, America rocks it. But that's kind of just like the capitalist thing that they're up to over there.
They do go
But
hard,
yeah,
yeah.
American chips are yeah, even just like the base level chips, like a nacho cheese Dorito. There's something slightly different about the way that they make their like processed cheese stuff that they chuck on it.
And you think it's better or worse than what we've got here?
Worse, I think it's worse than what
Well,
we've
that's
got
one
here.
thing that, so I'll interject a tiny bit with some of my credentials here. I lived in Japan for 3 years and they have a pretty strong chip game, but I wouldn't say it's quality. It's
So
more like,
yeah, I would put Japan's chip game like pretty close to New Zealand.
yeah,
Like if you're going on a chip tourist destination, you want to go to Japan.
we're going to have to do a
Okay, if
comedy
you want
tour
to
of
get your
this, aren't we?
passport stamped, yeah, yeah, you want to
We'll
go
call it,
to Japan.
we'll call it the Chippy Boys tour and we'll do like each city we
Exactly.
perform in is like a
So
different,
one of my favorite things to do, Taylor, is just to like go to a Japan Mart or like some
yeah,
sort of Asian supermarket and then just look at a chip packet that I have no clue what the fuck is in there
yeah,
and then
yeah,
just like
yeah,
try it. It's
yeah.
it's like being on holiday for me. It's so nice.
Do you know
Like then they have some like epic flavors, man.
you've actually given me an idea. So I don't drink alcohol, so I've never been a beer drinker, but I love the idea that craft beer is a thing now. So you can go to your supermarket and you can just buy like a can of a craft beer and you can just have something new to try. But I'd never
A
even
single
thought
chip. Are you doing like a chip smorgasbord where you have different flavored chips and it's just a single one and each
more
one
like
you can try the different things?
I just never thought that like, oh, interesting chips could be something to like sample around. So like, I think you've given me an idea.
Yeah.
The next time you see me, I've had 3 heart attacks and like just
Yeah,
in a
nice.
wheelchair and
Yeah, if
like
if there's anything that I want to do on this podcast today, Taylor, is encourage people to go out there and get chips. And if you have a heart attack, look, you've died happy, I
yeah.
think. So
It's one of
it's all
those
good.
things like, if you play football, you're going to get concussion. If you're going to be
Hmm.
you're going to be a chip connoisseur, you got to you got to dance with your cholesterol a little bit.
Yeah, die doing what you love.
Yeah.
What
So
I
then
say.
I'll let
That's
you get
simple.
back to what you're talking about. So you ranked the sort of birthday party bottom tier. What comes above that in your kind of expertise?
So I'd say out of those four as well, that my favorite is the cheesel. I like the cheesel the most. I'd say ration and twisties are tied, and then the worst one is burger rings. Still, I'll like eat them, but yeah, nothing special for me.
Yeah.
But I know there are diehard fans out there. So then above that is the
Burger
other
King
level of bluebird chips.
Burger Ring
What?
stands out there.
Yeah, I know. There are a few.
Oh, I'm
My dad
sure.
loves them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But above that is like the your stock standard Bluebird chip range. I would say personal preference, and I don't mind if people choose either way. I'm not that much of like a hummus guy when I eat chips. I kind of like the OG pure experience, as the chip company intended they be had. Not adding these heathenistic flavors.
You're like one of those wine guys that
Beetroot hummus? Who are you? Don't
you're
chuck
like
that on a wakachungi chip. Ridiculous.
you're like one of those wine guys who sips it and then just like spits it out and doesn't have it with cheese or anything. It's just like the product
Yeah,
is the
yeah, you
goal.
spits it out right away. I like to mush chips in my mouth and then spit them back out
You've just got
again.
like a little tray, like a bucket thing that you spit them into afterwards.
Yeah, my chip bucket. Yeah. But I'd say my personal preference is the thinly cut over the crinkle cut.
Right.
I just like the way that it melts in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And when you get a thin cut one that has the bubbles in it, like a
Yeah, those are
bubbly, I'm a bubbly chip guy. In terms of
yeah.
chip shape, I'm a bubbly chip guy. I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah. So you would like those kettle brand ones because those can be quite bubbly.
So, I mean, how soon do we want to jump into my favorite chip?
We could jump into it right now, unless you've got anything else like that you sort of comes between mid tier and the high
Oh,
tier.
there's so much. There's so much, you know.
Well, let's just
I'll
move
just
up the
start.
let's move up the tree. Yeah, what's
Yeah,
next on the tree?
it's too hard to accurately place them, but in the kind of like, I'd say like kettle brown bag chips at the top, and then because there's a difference between the brown bag and the black bag kettle chips. I'll get to
Okay.
that soon.
Yeah.
And the bottom, which is that bluebird range, but again, bluebird chips amazing. So always excited to see a chip, and bluebird chips they rock it.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
the middle, it depends what you're kind of going for. Like wakachangi, I think if you're having a fancy work get together and you want to be a bit more impressive than a bluebird chip, you get wakachangi chips.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what they cater towards, because you've also got dips at those sort of things. You know, you've got your
Yeah.
hummuses and things, and that's what wakachangi chips. That's the niche that they rock really well. Is that they're stronger than, you know, stereotypical crinkle cut chips, so they can actually, you know, not break in the hummus, or the
Yeah.
classic kiwi onion dip, which
Yeah.
I think is one of the best inventions from things that have come out in New Zealand. You know, greater than Flight of the Conchords, greater than the All Blacks. Like kiwi onion dip is
I'm
that
with you there.
shit's so fire.
That-
So funny that they tried to introduce two new kiwi dip flavors like
Oh,
a
did
year
they?
ago. Nobody liked them,
What
and
were
they're
the
just
two?
gone now. Yeah, I can't remember what they were, but
Right.
people like there were news articles, reports. It was like, oh, it's on One News and shit, but they're
Yeah.
not around anymore.
That was
Um,
there was a short list of stuff that I missed from New Zealand when I was away, and it was like I feel like we have a good quality of cheese here, and then the other one
mm,
was that kiwi onion dip is you just can't
yeah,
recreate it elsewhere.
yeah, you can't. It's so good. It's so good. Um, anyway, so yeah, Wakachangi chips, they're dope. Best packaging of any chip. They've just released a jalapeno and cheese flavor that I'm really keen
Oh,
to try.
yeah,
Um, I love that shit. They're banging. The Delicioso chips, they
love
kind of in
those.
that fancy bag. So
Yeah,
they props to them for having some of the most like experimental chip flavors out
yeah, they
there
got
that
some
I
good
really
ones.
enjoy.
They
They
got,
got me onto salt and balsamic vinegar chips. I think those are mean. I tried a
mm,
salt and balsamic vinegar here in Australia, corn thin.
ah,
Corn thin, yeah, that's a nice like when you want to take a break from having a chip and you want to feel a little bit healthier, but
yeah,
still
yeah.
not that healthy, because the star rating on both of them is like 2,
Oh,
but you go for
nice.
the corn thin. Yeah,
I
I
was get
I, I rock a corn thin.
the Delicioso ones are a good light chip as well, so it doesn't feel like you're being
So
as
good.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have some mean flavors. Doritos, they're kind of that's your, you know, your millennial, your kind of Gen Z party chip, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I have fond memories tied to the Thai sweet chili chip.
Oh yeah.
Um, Pretty much every week for about 2 years at uni, had a D&D group, and we Thai sweet chili chip was what brought us together.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
feel
some
that.
people might not want to play D&D, but you know, everybody wants to eat that chip.
Do you
They
remember the
slap.
do you remember the time where there was a time in New Zealand where we didn't have that flavor? And you just had
We
the
didn't have that flavor. I remember when we didn't have Doritos as
yeah,
well.
it was a
It was
new
the
thing.
same thing.
Like,
Yeah.
because corn chips were weirdly quite hard to get in New Zealand until probably
Mhm.
what, like 15 years ago, maybe?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then
I yeah.
they got the red and the yellow Doritos. I think they were the only two options for like a little bit. And then the brown ones
Mhm.
came along. And then yeah, the purple Thai chili ones were like a game changer. Like literally
Oh, we
everyone
had brown ones.
barbecue,
What
yeah.
a poor memory. They're
Yeah.
not around anymore at
Are they
all.
not?
Nah,
What were they? They were
nah.
barbecue flavored?
Yeah, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you for unlocking that chip memory for me.
You're gonna go on
Wow, that's
eBay and
crazy.
find like an archived pack of brown
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 chips, yeah.
Doritos.
But I remember when Doritos came in, because I would have been in year 4, so I was 9 years old.
Uh-huh.
And there was a teacher, he was like the cool teacher of the year group. He'd like let his kids play like PlayStation. He'd do an
Yeah.
Irish accent on St. Paddy's Day. But he would go to this shop called Martha's Backyard. He also later got fired because, you know, no one was learning in his class. But he went to this place called Martha's Backyard in Auckland that imported American stuff, and he
Straight
would
up.
bring red Doritos to class and give them
Yeah.
out to his students. And I wasn't in
Yeah.
his class, but I managed to get my like like a handful of chips from a cool kid, and boy, like that changed my life. Like,
Wow.
I started going to this Martha's Backyard just to get
Yeah,
like
yeah.
these elusive chips and stuff. Also, back in the time, a chip that I'm so gutted is gone. Rest
Uh-huh.
in peace. The CC.
Oh
You
yeah.
remember CC's?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was like a corn chip that we had for a while. That was like my go-to little kitty like
Yes, I
chip
remember
bag that I'd
those.
have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but my God, like um, they have them here in Australia, but they're so different. They're shaped like Doritos. The taste isn't really corn chippy. It's like flavored and stuff.
They
Yeah,
had a really hard chip and it had little black specks on it, I think from the baking process or something, right? It was quite a distinctive chip, wasn't it?
yeah.
And they had
It
those
was
commercials,
it was cool.
probably would be considered racist now, but they used to have a dude that'd be like, only CC's is tasting like these. And like that was the line in the commercials for ages.
Yeah,
And then they just kind of quietly dropped off. I don't know when they stopped.
I
Doritos probably
yeah,
pushed them out,
I
right?
remember them stopping, but yeah, the Doritos probably would have been the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, lots of core memories there. Another brand of chips which rocks it is the red bag corn chips. I can't remember what their name is.
They're just called like
Um,
Mexicanos or Mexicans or something, I
yeah,
think. And they're
that's the
circular, aren't
one.
they?
Yeah, they're so good. I think that Thai sweet chili version is better than the Doritos version. It's so nice. Plus, it's
Oh, I've not
locally
tried
grown.
those.
They grow those potatoes in like the Hawke's Bay or whatever. They're the best
Yeah.
they're the best for nachos because they're not
Yeah.
like just like a random plain corn chip, which is kind of a bit meh, and they're not like as like Mountain Dew, Halo 3, Infield, Gamer intense chip as a
They're not too
Dorito is,
dusty,
which
eh?
is
Like,
a whole nother story about how like Doritos got like very entire intertwined with like the gamer sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah, because they were
But
selling
yeah,
like a comb dairies and stuff. I remember always used to see combination like you buy like a Mountain Dew and you got like a Doritos for like cheaper or something.
yeah. It was weird, and you could win like Xboxes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like in all those MLG meme videos, Doritos was always there.
Yeah, yeah.
But they've kind of strayed away from that now.
That was their like,
Um,
yeah. So I just got the 10-minute warning. Let's get into your favorite chips before we run out of time. So tell me about these kettle ones. They're like the gold standard in
Okay, so
your tier list.
best chips in New Zealand are the brown bag kettle chips, copper kettle. There is a black bag
Yeah.
version, but I don't know. They're slightly worse. They're not cooked the same. I don't know. There's something about them that isn't as
Yeah.
good.
You gotta go
I've got
brown
fond
bag.
memories of trying the barbecue one for the first time as like a young adult. That was my favorite chip because with my granddad, one of the guys that died with a heart attack, used to like watch All Blacks game. I hated rugby, but it was nice just to watch All Blacks games with him and eat barbecue copper kettle chips. So
Yeah.
fond core memories, but I think the all the flavors are good. That's the best salt and vinegar chip out there. That's amazing. I'm typically not a salt and vinegar chip guy,
Me
personal
neither.
preference, but I will actively buy that bag because I think
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
best version of it. The honey soy chicken chip of that
Oh,
brand
I'd forgotten
is
about
the
those until you just said them.
best chip in New Zealand and of all time. It's
Yeah.
so good, that honey soy chicken chip. When you get a bubble of that, that's the best chip in the world. But get this twist
Yeah.
incoming. Tied with that being the best chip in the world
Yeah.
is a Papa Jack.
What's
Papa
that?
Jacks. You don't know what Papa Jacks are?
Is this a
It's like
local?
it's one of those. So one of the best chips in the world is a stock standard bluebird chip that I would also put in the realm of twisties and cheezels and burger rings.
Oh,
Is a
right.
Papa Jack. Yeah, I think you used to be able to get the clown to come to your birthday party.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the clown
Pretty
logo.
dodgy. It's just like, oh, they're so hard to describe. The shape is so unique.
It's like a
They're just
cylinder,
so
right?
tasty. No. It's like this kind of like rectangle, but they're like slightly curved. There's
Ah,
like an off-brand kind of Papa Jack that you can only get in dairies, and they're like bigger. That's like a pretty good sleeper chip if you're at a dairy and you want something that's on a budget. Budget chips. Um, Lots of thoughts on Pringles. I think in Asia they'll have the best Pringles flavors
yeah,
because
some
they're
good
so
ones in Japan.
experimental and random. Those are dope. I love that. Yeah, some just like other random thoughts. I think the best chip from around the world that I've had, best chip flavor that we don't really get in New Zealand, but Delicioso just like a couple months ago brought out a version of it.
Yeah.
Prawn cocktail,
Oh
the
yeah.
Lay's, but in the UK Walkers, some like name thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Prawn cocktail chip in the pink bag, bro. Like
Yeah, I've tried
that
those. They're
that
quite
is
good,
my
eh?
favorite international chip. It
Yeah.
is so fucking good. Um, Also in Greece, you can get tzatziki chips.
Yeah. I've had those in Japan too.
Those those are so sick. Those
I
that's
don't mind
that's
them,
a
eh?
great
Yeah.
international flavor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those
Did
are
you
good. Oh man, I
did
love
you ever
just going
try
to a supermarket. Yeah.
did you ever try wasabi beef from Japan? Yeah, Japan?
No, 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 no.
That
But
was
I've
an
seen that
interesting
flavor
one.
in a store here. I'm
Yeah.
keen to try that. I love wasabi flavored stuff. I think another like fringe snack that I like is going to the international section and getting that green wasabi pea
Oh yeah.
bag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those wasabi peas are lit. They're so
Yeah.
good. I have so many thoughts about chips. I think yeah,
It's good though.
they're the best, man. They're the
Yeah.
best. Yeah, so good.
All right. Well, I guess we'll kind of wrap it up there. What are your socials, Danny? Where can people find you if they want to follow you? He's also very
Yeah,
as well as being a hilarious comedian, an expert on chips. He's a hilarious comedian, so definitely check him out.
Yeah, I'm pretty good, I'd say. Um, I don't know, just don't. Facebook's not the best place. Just on Instagram at Danny Sewell 123. Pretty easy. Sewell Sewell.
Very nice.
And you can also find me on Netflix in 5 years.
Nice.
Um, and no, it's not so nice, Taylor. That's actually a bad thing. I think Netflix is going to go bankrupt very soon. And they don't treat their stand-up comedians very well. So if you find me on Netflix, that's a sign that I've done poorly in my career.
What do you predict? Is there going to be another streamer, or do you think people are just going to go to self-releasing on YouTube?
Self-releasing seems to be the way. Like you
Yeah.
just release it for free, maybe with a donation button, and
Yeah.
you just get your name out there so you make money from future specials and tours.
Yeah. That's basically
That's the
my
way.
plan. Not because no one will buy my specials, because it's intentional, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I'll buy
viewers
it, Taylor.
can't see me winking right now. Well, thanks for joining us and for sharing your passion for chips. I'm definitely going to go and have a look at the Asian supermarkets around me and see if I can find anything interesting. Any closing thoughts?
Go out and get Papa Jacks.
Yeah.
Okay, just try them. Look, I might have a nostalgia connection to them. They were my favorite chip as a kid as well. But like, they're banging. They're good. You can't go wrong.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Danny.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, we're clear. That was that was a lot of fun. Like
I'm so passionate, dude.
you
I'm
really
so
are.
fucking passionate about chips.
I love it though. Like that's like we said, it's like one of the least self-destructive vices that you could have, really. Like as you know,
I know
as long as
exactly.
people like do a bit of walking and
God,
kind of
imagine if I was like talking like this passionately about like crack or something, and there are like different flavors of my favorite brands of crack, and you can get the best crack actually in Greece. It's actually really good. They got
they've got tzatziki
tzatziki. They got
crack.
tzatziki crack.
um but yeah, like I think it's one of those things. It's like the iceberg, like on the top you see like, oh yeah, potato chips, and then like as you're talking about it, I was like, God damn, like he's right. Like there's so much
Yeah,
to the potato chip game.
New Zealand's good, man. We're
Yeah.
so good. We're so good.
I wonder
But
why.
hot take on Japan though.
Yeah.
Fully, yeah. As like second tier
Yeah.
because I think just because they just do it so differently.
Yeah.
Um, it's so differently and it's so them. It's very authentic
Yeah. My
Japan, I'd say.
they're always doing like if you go to like the McDonald's menu, like every week it'll be like something different. And my ex used to tell me it's because
Wow.
Japanese people get sick of things quickly. Like they'll have
Right.
they'll have these new flavors and everyone will buy it for like a couple of weeks and then it'll be like, I've had it. And then they'll circulate it out or whatever. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's a cultural
Interesting.
thing there. I wonder why we have such a strong chip game here. It must just be because we can get potatoes easily, right?
Potatoes easily. I don't know. I really don't know. It's like how we've got a strong chocolate game, but I guess that makes more sense because we're like a big
Dairy.
dairy country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I think
New
cheese as
Zealand
well.
chocolate game is world tier. as well. Our
Yeah,
chocolate
you could
game as
probably
well.
do a whole podcast about cheese and stuff from New Zealand. Like the one thing I sort of missed this when I was overseas is like the cheese you can get in Japan is all like cream style, so it's like you can't get
Right.
like a sharp crumbly cheese there at all. So like
Interesting.
that was what I
Interesting.
missed. Just that like what is it like Edmonds or something here where you just get that like like a sharp cheddar. That was like as soon as I had that I was like, damn, I've been like waiting 3 years for that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting, yeah.
yeah,
I've like a lot of thoughts on New Zealand chocolate as well, but the only problem is that I just don't I'm just not a big fan of sweet things, so I don't eat
yeah.
enough chocolate.
I'm with you. Yeah, not. I lean way more
But
towards
we're
savory
good.
stuff. Yeah. Oh, well, this was cool, dude.
Cool.
Thanks for your time. It's
Yeah,
probably
that was
not going to
great.
be up for a few weeks. I'm kind of like building like a backlog up and just kind of drip feeding them out. So I'll probably do like a cover
Gangster.
image that's like you and me on like a New Zealand flag background and like do it as like have all the chips behind us as like a patriotic thing or something. Because
Cool. Yeah, I'm a patriot when it comes to chips.
all right, dude. We have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, you too.
Take care, man. Thank you.
And we're back. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope, much like myself, it's going to inspire you to get out into the world and taste some of these interesting potato chip flavors out there. Just since this podcast has happened, I find myself looking at the potato chip aisle with new eyes when I'm out and about. If you've decided that you need more Danny in your life, you can follow him on Facebook and Instagram. His Facebook page is simply Danny Sewell Comedy, and his last name is Sewell. His Instagram account, Danny Sewell 123. You can also check out the Instagram page for Theoretical Comedy. That is the show that Danny runs alongside Finn McLaughlin, another very funny young man. And coming up very soon, on the 4th of October, you can check out their fringe show. It is called The Butt Brothers, and it's a kind of Super Mario parody. It is at the same bar they do Theory Comedy at, Theory Bar. And I've been told it contains stand-up, improv, sketches, and all manner of incategorizable? I don't know if that's a word. Lots of fun stuff at that show. So definitely go and check that out if you are in Melbourne. If you'd like to follow me online, you can find me on pretty much all the social networks at Taylor Ruddle Comedy. And always make sure to check out Can Do Comedy on Facebook and Instagram to see what kind of fun events we have coming up. In a nutshell, we do a quiz on Tuesday at Black Pearl Tavern in Christchurch. We do a quiz on Wednesday at Moi Moi, which is a great Mexican restaurant in the CBD. Thursdays, we have got the Laugh Cellar at the Austin Club. It's my little pet project at the moment. Really, really fun show. Core entry, so it does not cost you much to come along and have a laugh. Great little room, heaps of fun. I've been really trying to push the podcast and get it out there to more listeners, so I'm running a paid ad on Facebook at the moment, which seems to actually, for once, be generating a few new listeners. So if you are listening to the show and you've seen my Facebook ad, I appreciate you taking a punt and coming along for the ride. I hope you enjoy the show. If you're a loyal listener and you want to support me or help get the podcast in front of more people, you can leave me a review on, I think, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's very easy to give that people always ask for a 5-star review, so why not? If you give me a 5-star review on those and help me climb my way up the comedy interview podcast charts in New Zealand, that would be fantastic. I'd be super appreciative of that. One last little plug before we get to the song of the week. As you probably know, I'm going on tour with David Corrios in about 2 weeks. First date is the 4th of October. We are in Wanaka, I believe, at the Rhyme and Reason Brewery. I'm really looking forward to playing that place. I've seen heaps of friends do gigs there, and it looks like an awesome wee spot, so I'm very much looking forward to gigging there. It's going to be a mad tour. We're doing about 22 or 23 dates over the course of October, spanning pretty much the entire South Island. So if you're a fan of David and you would also like to see me in one of these shows, go to www.davidcorrios.com and that will redirect you to our ticketing website where you can find out where we are going to be. Spent about 3 hours walking around the Christchurch CBD yesterday, hanging up posters as well, so I'm hoping that helps put a few more butts in seats. Would love to see you along. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a totally new 30 minutes from me, all new stuff, all very fresh jokes, and I cannot wait to start doing that for some of you out there. Okay, that's enough palaver from me. It is time for the song of the week. This song this week has been submitted by a Christchurch Originals band called The Outboard Motors. I got a lovely message from Darren from The Outboard Motors submitting this song, and the song title is What Do We Do Now? So I'm going to play that very shortly, and if you like it and you want to see more from the Outboard Motors, you can find them on Facebook. Darren says they've got a Facebook page just called the Outboard Motors. So thank you very much, Darren, for submitting your song, excuse me. I really appreciate it. It was a great track, really enjoyed it, and I wish you all the best with your band and all the success in the world. It's great to see local musicians doing original music. I love it. So once again, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Here is the Outboard Motors with What Do We Do Now?
Somewhere else, haven't been hiding, I've just been up to nothing. So, what do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now that you and me are something good? Something good. I haven't been hiding, I haven't been drinking, I haven't been sleeping around. Haven't been hiding, I haven't been drinking, I haven't been up to anything that's wrong, that's wrong. So, what do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now that you and me are something good? So, what do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now? We can't do anything. What do we do now that you and me are something good? Something good. Something good. Something good.
How good was that track? Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.